Hi, I just want to go over Module 3 because it's a little bit complex and it's a little bit different than what we have been doing. So here we are in our Blackboard site. In Module 3, we have some learning outcomes that you can read here. I'm going to click on Module 3 to look on the inside. And you see that in the overview, I've listed only two things you have to do. Read Chapter 4 in green. Green gives you another take. He defines and describes validity, reliability, practicality, beneficial consequences, and other important ideas and concepts related to assessment. And I like to give you different voices, not just hearing my voice and Brown's voice, but also Green's voice and others. So it just helps to maybe hear it again now that we've had some practice. And you're going to do one activity, which is complete assignment 1. Assignment 1 is complex. And that's because it serves a really critical purpose. Each part of it is important. It gives us the opportunity to have shared assessment examples where we'll all be students. So in order to do that, I am giving you two of the assignments from one of my courses that you are going to first take as a student, and experiencing that as a student will be a good experience for us to share, and then we can use that shared experience as a point of reference for future discussions. You know, we can say things like, oh, remember in blank assessment we experienced this. And I have found that that is really helpful to have like a shared starting point. Second, it gives us a chance to practice identifying and evaluating actual assessments before we start being graded on the assessments we create. And here it's also gives a lot of, we've been thinking about these concepts and been talking about it, and now we're going to apply them. And third, it serves as a little mini practice for your final project of the course, including the report, which requires you to articulate and justify your evaluations, and having a lower stakes practice before we do that final project is very powerful. It also gives us practice illustrating the balance of our portfolio with a radar chart, which may be new to some of us, so we have that chance to practice. So now that I've explained why it's so complex, let's look at it. You can also see here, so right here in blue is we can click on this and get the description of the assignment. I'm going to pull that aside for a moment. We'll bring that back, or maybe we can do both. We'll bring that back when we need it. And also here's a link straight to the assignment. We can also get it from going into assignments, and as I said, the radar chart might be new, so here's a screencast showing you how to do it. Okay, so let's look, now that we looked at what's in Module 3, let's look at this assignment. We have learning objectives. We already talked about it in practice. So so we have 4 steps, and then how it's graded. Step 1 is to review the course materials found for those 2 assessments. So let's go in here to the assignment, and so step 1 is to review the materials for the course. Down here you can find context with the syllabus and the schedule if you're interested in using that for your evaluation. Just to be clear, this is the instructions again. I just repeated it here in case you go straight to assignments. So to review the materials for the course, I feel like I did too many asides. So step 1 is review the course materials. And I also say you may want to complete this sequentially for each assessment that you evaluate. So for instance, you might want to look at the materials inside here. This is how I taught tense and aspect. Here's a PDF explaining aspect in English. Here is complex tense and aspect, and you can see there's blanks. I expect while we were in class, the students filled those in for themselves. Here's a test yourself. Here is an activity that they did before the graded assignment. So you can look at this and see how it was taught. And then I'm going to hit the back button. And then after looking at the unit, you can then take the assessment yourself. By clicking this, and here is the actual assignment given to the students, so you can see the wording that they were exactly given, and you can follow these steps, right? So choose a text, whatever you're reading, identify the finite verbs, identify it by a traditional label, do all the steps. Also, if you look on the second page, there's an example there for you. I'm going to click that. So you're going to pretend that you're a student in this class, and you're going to do this assignment the best you can, not actually having been in this course. So you're going to type it up in Word, and notice that the assignment, the students in the actual class had to do more, but you only have to do five finite verbs here. And that will be enough to get a sense of the assignment. And once you have your document, you click here and to submit it, and you can see that it was worth 50 points. And you can just browse your computer, find whatever assignment that was, whatever you named it, and you can hit submit. I'm not going to submit because I don't actually have that assignment completed to submit right now. Okay, so that's how you would do that for the first assignment, the TAM assignment. Let's go back to the instructions. So review the course material, complete the assessment, and then you can spend some time to evaluate that assessment. Think about those 4 principles. Where would you look to evaluate the validity, the reliability, the practicality? What about the subtypes you might want to consider for each of those? So you might want to take a moment to evaluate that assessment exactly as they were given it. Okay, so then, but there's 2, right? So we also have a unit on clause and sentence types. So again, starting with reviewing the material, you can look at the different sentences, the different documents here on the unit, so you can see how I taught it, and then you can click here to take the it's a Blackboard test. It's homework for my students, and you can take it and experience that assessment. And again, moving back, after you have reviewed the course material for that assessment, complete that assessment, then you want to evaluate that assessment. Think about its validity, reliability, practicality, and beneficial consequences. Then then you're going to write a little mini assessment portfolio report. You're going to include a summary of what you experienced when you looked at the content, like what kind of activities are the students being asked to do in the assessments, identify them, formal, informal, summative, formative, any other dichotomy, at least one other dichotomy that Brown discusses in Chapter 1. Explain your labels based on what you know from using the course terms. And also then, as we talked about, you evaluated each of these assessments. So you're going to explain your evaluation and justify it, and do a review of the balance of, these are only 2 of the assignments inside this course, but think about if this is balanced or imbalanced by the use of a radar chart, where 1 meaning that principle is not very fulfilled and 5 representing highly fulfilled. And then you're going to submit it. Let's put a hold on there and let me show how, and here is how it's graded. For completing the assessments, you know, acting as the student, you get a whole bunch of points, and then the report that you submit, you'll here are the points that are available for there, right? Mostly the use of the evaluation of the TAM, evaluation of the clause and sentence types, those are the big ticket items, and then also identifying those as formative, summative, all of those identifications. So now, as we said, the last step is to submit that. How do you do that? Well, you can go 2 ways. If you go under assignments, after you have your report written, you can go under assignment 1 and okay, so to submit the your mini assessment evaluation report, you click here and it will look like the other one that we did as a practice as a student, and you have your report with your radar chart and everything, and you again click browse your computer and submit it here. Now, if you were very observant, you'll see that the icon changed from earlier in the video. I had created an item, but not the actual assessment. So now you can see anytime it has the icon with the pencil and the ruler and the paper, you can click on the title, and that's where you can submit your assignment for a grade. Now, this one is for a grade. These other ones will not be directly included in your grade, just as part of the, as we saw in the grading criteria, just for a completion. You'll have completion points there. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to make a post a question. Perhaps we'll start right here in the general discussion. I'll create a thread and we'll call it assignment 1, and we'll just post questions about here, just so you can, if you do have a question, you can click here and hit reply. Okay, I hope this helps. If not, give me another chance by posting a question. Thanks.